if you had to give some tips to the artists out there, like let's say the creators, the makers out there, so choreographers, the artists that want to create a body of work as opposed to maybe being competitive or getting booked for job, like they want to create a body of work which is like, here's my artistic portfolio or whatever. Like, what problems do you see with like different levels of artists, or is there any consistent things that artists keep doing which is like shooting themselves in the foot, or any things that you're like, this, a lot of artists do this and they need to stop that shit, like without cussing everyone out,
okay,
including me.
Well, this would be fun, but maybe on the next podcast. Okay, so there's a few different things. I think an important thing is to like get better at and this is something that like everything that I'm gonna say is like, you know, not in the view of like cussing people, but really just like skills to acquire that I find useful. Yeah. So, or just like feedback. So
don't be not nice.
Don't be not nice. So one thing is like to get better and gain clarity on like your work and what you have to say as an artist. Because I feel like a lot of different people that I've worked with, and I for sure understand the process that like things might not be clear at the beginning, or if you're working on something, you're not sure what you want to say, you have an idea and a notion of it. But it's like, if you're not clear about what you're saying, just say, I'm not clear yet. And like, you know, instead of, sometimes I feel like it can fall into the spiritual, like the kind of spiritual and like abstract explanation of like, I'm just like researching the sentiment of the perspective of seeing the world through the lens of somebody who's been through experiences that were traumatic. Like, what are you saying? Yeah, like this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Like, get to the point kind of thing.
Like, you know, if it's that, it's like I'm researching, like my research is about like the violence done to women and how it affects them in the workplace. Yeah. Like,
and I guess this is also like feeds into stuff like when you're writing applications and stuff, you can't just be waffling about stuff that doesn't really get to the point.
Exactly. And it's like, especially if you're like thinking of working with collaborators, like you want to work with a music producer and a light designer, like they need to understand what's in your head. And like part of the producer's role can be to like articulate that, you know, and like once they're on the same page as you, to be able to like be another voice
and like translate you almost.
Yeah. But also as an artist, like this is your job to express yourself. That's what you want to do. You want to express your ideas. And like, although I understand dance is like the physical medium, like if you're working with a team, like language and words is how we like organize the world, you know? So I think that like practicing that, and it's a skill. It's like anything. If you practice and you do it more, you get better at it.
And like, you know, I often refer to like the music industry as like a parallel to stuff, just because it's something I care about. But like someone like Kendrick Lamar has a lot of very specific, very noticeable and, like techniques that stand out, things that are very Kendrick Lamar about his music and the way his production is done. So that doesn't happen by accident, is the point. Like Kendrick Lamar doesn't walk into a studio and go, yeah, I just need it to feel Kendrick Lamar. And like, he just raps 16 bars and then goes home, and they make it. He is able to communicate somehow. I don't know how that works behind the scenes, but he's able to communicate to his producer, any musicians that are playing music on his track, like what he needs, how he needs it to sound, his management, his label, like he's able to communicate what that quality is. And of course, like you said, there's a team, maybe people are influencing that aren't just him, but there's a way that he communicates his ideas so that can be communicated to the world effectively. And one of the reasons why he's one of the, you know, the top however many rappers in the history of the world is partially because of his ability to do that and to get his brand and his identity out there clearly. And it's not, I'm sure there's other people that are just as talented, but they weren't able to. It's like when you work with them, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, you know?
Yeah. And for me, it's like also this thing of like, this is the analogy that's been in my head for a few months, but it's like, okay, let's say you have this like artistic universe.
Yeah.
That's like, I imagine it as a room. Mm-hmm. It's like you want to enter the room through the keyhole.
Okay.
And like, you know, to be able to enter that. And for me, it's like the idea and the precision is like, you need to know exactly like where to come in and like what you're talking about in order to be able to access this whole thing that's in your head, this whole idea. If you're just like busting through the walls, you know, you get there, but then it doesn't quite look like what you wanted it to look like. And
it's like, I guess you're, as an artist, you're inside the room with it locked, just shouting outside like, come in. Whereas like if you tell them exactly which key to choose from outside, what does it look like, where does it go, where the keyhole is, then they can open it and to join you in your world.
Exactly. Right. So I think like as artists, like it's helpful if you gain like clarity about what is it that you want to say and what it is that you want to do, and then to be able to like communicate that verbally with other people or written.
And one thing I would add to that as an artist side of it is, and I'm telling this to myself as much as anyone else, is not getting defensive. Yeah. Because I find myself doing it. Like I have a producer that I'm working with, Gabby, she's wonderful, on my company, and she will question me about stuff and just come to me and be like, yo, I don't understand what you're talking about. And like, I kind of get up in my feelings and be like, oh, like, it's just like that. And I have to say, no, like the point of this is that she's, you know, your partner, your team, like we're a team with this. So I have to like calm down, don't get defensive and be like, right, maybe I'm not maybe I don't know what I want to say. And just like, I think as an artist, I can vouch for that, like admitting that you're like, oh, I don't really know. It's tough. Like it feels like you're saying you're not a good artist or you don't have a point to your work, which is, it hurts a bit, like to have to admit that to someone. But I guess that's why you need that relationship where you have a producer who doesn't make you feel like shit or whatever.
Exactly. And it is like, you know, like I've been there too, you know, and it's like, it is a vulnerable place and it is like,
especially when it's something that's close to your heart.
Yeah.
And someone's coming and going, what are you talking about?
It's something like personal that you want to express, but you don't really know how. So it's like, you're not fully clear about how you want to say it. And then you try to articulate it and the person is like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. And you're like, oh, you just don't understand me. And it's like, okay, but also like you're not making it
and it's
easy.
Your job to help me to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's like a big thing, especially for like artists that are like maybe wanting to explore more with theater and like expressing a specific idea that's in their head. Like I think that's something that's really, really helpful. And then the other thing would be like to start building a team.
Okay. And how does one go about building a team? And who would that team consist of?
You would be probably better than me at answering that question because you're actually quite good at building teams.
Oh, look at this. You admitting I'm good at something. This is a new...
It's a new segment of the podcast.
Yeah, what persona is this that you're putting on?
No, but honestly, like even with Gabby and with Elephant and just...
Elephant is my company. Making an Elephant is my company, for context.
In general, like I think when you have projects on, you're quite good at bringing people on and like engaging them, leaving room for them and stuff. So it's like it's hard to do all alone. And at the same time, it's like goes back to what I was saying before. And you might not have the money to pay that person, but you like want to build something with them. So it's like, as an artist, if you want to have a long career, you're not going to do it alone. At some point, you're going to need people to help you. And at some point, you're going to need to like build partnerships and collaborations. So like start meeting people. Like,
but does building a team, because I'm imagining like, okay, I'm a solo artist, let's say. I've done some shit and I want to build an hour-long solo and I think I've got a great idea. Because I'm thinking of hearing this for the first time and I'd be like, what does it mean to build a team? Like, does it mean I can't do a solo? Does it mean like I have to have like a crew of dancers or a company of dancers, or does it mean I need to find myself a manager, a lighting designer, or this or that, a musician, a music producer? Like, what is it that we need from a team?
Well, it depends what you're doing and what stage you're at. Yeah. And it depends like, and this is your job as an artist too. It's to identify what support you need. Right. Like, and you know, to like,
how do we do that?
So to a certain extent, like, and this is one thing in the hip hop community, and you know, even in the dance industry in general, it's like people are very, very, very generous with their time. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like, I don't know how many times, like, I have so many people that I know that I can call on if I have a question and I'm not sure about something, or like,
same here.
You know, like Artists for Artists are a great example of that. And like, I don't know how many times I like texted or emailed or called Lee and I was like, I'm doing this thing, I'm not really sure what I should do next. Or like Crazy Smooth, same, I can call him. And now like Farouk has helped me as well to clarify certain things. And it's like,
I have to also say on that note, because it would be wrong of me not to also give flowers, but it's like me coming up in the UK industry, in the UK like hip hop scene, let's say, like I heard so much shit about people not being supportive and blah, blah, blah. Just everyone complaining about stuff like that. But my experience has been insane with the amount of people in this scene that have helped me. And I'm not just talking about friends of mine that I care about or people that I've worked with. Like, I've called random people to ask for advice. Like, I might have said this on the podcast before, but like when I didn't really know Brooke that well, I've called him and been like, yo, someone asked me about a judging job. Like, how do I even begin to charge for judging? You know, people that I've like publicly disagreed with, like Kashmir, have spent hours helping me with my dance, you know, behind the scenes when no one was there, like spending time training me and answering questions and stuff. And it's like, I haven't paid any of these people, you know, like there's so many people that have gone out of their way to like help me just for the sake of helping, you know, and have never come back and asked like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, I did help you with your dance. Can you do this for me? Like, so,
and to a certain extent is the same with producing, like Michelle, Jonesy, like a bunch of people who have more experience and who are doing what you might want to do. Yeah. Like you could just reach out to them and be like, hey, can I buy you coffee? Yeah. Or call you. I have some questions. I'm like, I've done, and you know, I would say be prepared, like have some questions. And like, this is what I've done. This is what I want to do. What do you think I should do next? What would make sense for me? And there, like, a lot of people will be glad to help you, even if you don't know them personally. This is also an opportunity to build a relationship. And like, there's a lot of people, for example, like, I feel like Kendrick, for example, I know him quickly, like meaning like I know him, and we say hi and we're cool and all of that, but I don't have a close relationship with him. But by the same token, I feel like if ever I like hit him up and I said, hey, I really need help and I would really like to have your input in this, like I wouldn't be surprised if he just said like, yeah, sure. Yeah. You know, and that he would be happy to help someone who wants to make it.
And I think also, you know what's key because I feel like I've been on both sides now. I'm a bit older and I feel like I've been the artist, and I still am in a lot of cases, that just calls people and like, help, please give me advice. But then also I've been now on the side of like younger artists will call me and ask for advice or whatever. And I think one key thing, or let me say two key things. The first one is, I think you're going to say, like, this is me chipping in my advice, but it's like, people are going to say no a lot. Like, I'm too busy, I haven't got time, blah, blah. Like, honestly, even now, do you know how many times I mean, not now with Corona, but like how many times I offer people a coffee? Can I buy you a coffee sometime, blah, blah. And I get no's all the time. Like, I'm too busy, like I haven't got time, like maybe later. Or people that are just like, yeah, sometime, and it never happens. Like, I do it all the time. Like, with anyone that I think might be able to offer me advice. Like, there was a music video, I think I told you about this, a music video director from an artist that I love in the States. He lives in New Jersey. He happened to reply to my DM or something because I just wrote him to say, like, I love the music video that you put out. And then I was like, if you're ever in London, like, can I buy you a beer? Just in a way of like, I'll think of what to ask you when you get here, but I just want to like sit down. And I think just keep doing that with people and you'll find people that have the time. But I think the second thing is, I very, very rarely have ever asked someone to do something for me. Like I've never come, like I didn't come to Brooke, like for in that example when I asked, I don't even know.
Train me.
Yeah, like I don't even know if he would remember this, but like I asked him about pricing in as a judge because I hadn't judged much at that time. And I didn't come to Brooke and say, I need more judging jobs. Can you put me on? I said, I'm trying to make it. I have these opportunities. I'm already doing this stuff, but I just need you to assist me in helping myself. And I think that's the key is like, if you can find a way to figure out what you want to get from these people without asking them to do something for you, you're just telling them, look, I'm already doing this. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to help myself. Help me have tools to help myself as opposed to help me, do it for me, give me opportunities. No, give me the tools I need to create my own opportunities.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, that's what I was saying about like, if you're asking for somebody's time, then like honor their time by being ready, you know, and like knowing what you want to know and being able to like articulate what you're doing about your project. And if you're not in a position to do that, then maybe take the time to do that and then call them, you know, or call them and then maybe that'll put like a fire under your bum to do it. But I think that that's definitely... and
people want to know, like, people want to help people who they think are going somewhere. And this is something that I think we underestimate as like younger artists. Like we think we're the drain or like we're just like calling it wasting your time. But even now me, I'm like, if a young dancer calls me up for help, I'm like, oh, I want to give you advice now because if you blow up, like I want you to like for us to have a connection. So it's like you are offering something, even if it's not now. You're offering something with your potential. If people see you as like a hard worker and like a great producer or whatever, and you call for advice, as an experienced professional, you want to make connections with the young up and comers who are dope, you know. Like I would like to say like a good relationship with Ice, and before he was Ice and before he was dope and like he was just a younger dancer, you know, he's always been good, but he didn't have the name that he did. But we used to talk loads about hip hop, and now it's like, because I didn't wait for him to get famous and then be like, oh, hey, can we be friends? You know, it's like I want to make connections with the young up-and-coming hip-hop dancers because I care about the scene. And I'm like, you know, even for all the Ices I've spoken to about hip-hop, there's plenty of people that you never heard their name that I've also spoken to because they never made it or never did good, you know? Yeah,
but also I think that, you know, in the same conversation of or like throwing back to what we were saying with Red, it's like a lot of people who are like in a good position in the hip hop sector, like want to see more of us.
Exactly. And like, this is the other thing. Yeah.
You know, we want to see more successful artists. We want to see more hip hop producers. Like everyone wants that. Like,
and they know that you trying to do it without asking for help is less likely that you're going to do it.
Yeah. But also like these people like are busy and they have their hands full and they're running companies and trying to make a million projects happen. Yeah. So they're not going to call you and be like, hey, do you need help? You know, but if you ask and if you ask for a specific thing, then most people will give you time. Like, I feel like this is also, you know, kind of, you alluded to it, but you know, this like kind of narrative of like, oh, people in the hip hop community don't support each other.
Yeah.
There's no support. For me, it's like,
I hate that.
And I found an analogy that you're going to love.
Go on.
Okay. So for me, this is like the Avengers. Okay. Where we're all playing different parts and we're all like trying to get Thanos.
Yeah.
But like, you don't see Spider-Man being like, why isn't anyone shooting web with me? Like, do you think shooting web is stupid? Like, nobody appreciates how hard it is to like shoot web. You know, Iron Man is just like doing Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then Black Panther is doing Black Panther. And like maybe Ant-Man in a conversation in his living room will be like, it's really hard to get really, really small and then to grow big. And he's going to have a talk about it. But like, this isn't like, oh, no one supports how like tiny I have to get. And when I fight, it's really hard. Like, okay, but this is not the point. Like, we're all trying to do the same thing in different ways.
And I guess also it's the working with your analogy. It's like what you said about asking for something specific. It's like if Ant-Man is there going like, it's really hard to get small, no one cares. And it's like, yeah, we do. We're just doing other shit. Like, do you need something? If you're like, oh yeah, I don't know, I'm like rolling with your analogy, but like if I'm Ant-Man and my powers don't allow me to like fucking do something, I might call Iron Man and be like, I need help on this specific thing because my powers don't help me with that. And then Iron Man's going to go, yeah, cool. You know, whereas if you just sit there going, why isn't he helping? It's like, with what? When? What? Like, what do you want support with? And I'll help you.
Exactly. It's like, you know, when they did the attack all of them with like the girl who who like calms him. And then there was like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, so they all like play their different parts and then like they all complement each other and they all help each other. But like they established how that was going to happen before. It wasn't just like, you know, and then you have the movies where like one is helping the other in a more specific way.
Yeah.
And then they both go on their own mission. They all have their own movies but then they're all fighting for the same thing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's like, if we're talking about support and allyship, I'm like, anyone who is pushing hip hop forward and who like wants to like our voices to be in different spaces are all allies.
Yeah.
Whether they care about me personally is like irrelevant because I personally, like, I try to do meaningful work, but I'm like, me personally is not like relevant to the bigger cause. We all play our part to make things better for all of us at the end of the day. So it's like getting caught up in the individual, like, I'm not being supported.
Especially when you're not reaching out and asking for specific support. What you actually want is a pat on the back, I find. It's like you want like this, or you want someone to say, oh, can I give you help? Or can I, you know, it's like if you've reached out and said, hey, can you help me with this specific thing? Can you give me advice? And everyone's saying no, then cool. But I don't see that happening a lot in our industry.
And it's like, have you taken full advantage of all the opportunities that were presented to you?
Yeah.
And it's like, oftentimes if you feel like you're not being supported, then the answer is no, because there's something you could have done better to seek the support that you needed. Yeah. So it's like this thing of just, I don't know, but this is the way I see things. And I understand that like, there's things that I don't know, and there's experiences that like might be frustrating or might feel lonely, and like I get all of it, but I just think this outlook of like I'm alone in this and people don't support me, like okay, then what? Like where does that take you? How do you fix this then? Not by just sitting and crying about it. No one's gonna come get you and like comfort you, you know. We're all trying to be Avengers out here.
So this is our advice to artists.
I'm Scarlet Witch.